Hello and welcome to the Lazy Book Club podcast, the book club for those who don't want to read or leave the house. My name is Matt Gonzalez.
It's David Cooks. And I'm Josh Matheson.
I always forget to turn David's mic down slightly in Ecamm.
For the intros.
For the intros.
It's funny, I must be a nightmare because sometimes I listen to it back and I'm like, oh, I'm actually not speaking loudly enough at that bit when I'm saying something.
Yeah.
And when I've heard it back, and then I'll just do the one time, which is just the beginning.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I do put these through Orphonic to try and level everything out, but there's only so much an algorithm can do.
That would just be a big rectangle, wouldn't it? That would just appear as a plateau.
Yeah,
A plateau.
That's a big block of sound.
Like Table Mountain.
We're on the final chapter, boys. It's been a long year. It's been a really long year. It's felt like a slog. This treasure island. I mean, and I love the fact that the actual treasure hunt was the last 4 chapters.
Yeah.
30 chapters.
And the treasure wasn't where it was supposed to be.
No, it was already found, which was kind of anticlimactic as well, because it's like, you never got that thing of them cracking the crate open and seeing the gold and you want the shot of like the yellow reflection. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Again, I'm not. It's not a spoiler alert because obviously we want to try and do something with this, but I know my Muppets Treasure Island ending.
Oh yes.
Spoiler alert, Josh. There are some plot changes.
Are there?
I think.
Shocking.
Well, like the Mouse Cruise.
How dare they change the original text? I've stayed true to my word and have not dipped into that film.
Yeah.
I still have no idea.
Last week, they kind of started to tie off all the loose ends, didn't they?
They did. It felt quite final.
Yeah. So we ended with John and Jim and like the Doctor, Squire, Captain, Gray. No, what's his name? Gray, is it?
Abraham.
Yeah. All around the fire, eating. Oh, with Ben Gunn eating salted goat and drinking wine from the Hispaniola. Sitting around a fire, and John basically trying to fade into the background, trying to go back to the very genial, nice, happy chef cook person that they met right at the start. Basically, trying to wind his neck in. And kind of fade into the background so that people don't point the finger.
Laughing at everyone's jokes, like slightly louder.
Yeah, exactly. Just to kind of make sure that people kind of detach him from the person who basically caused all of the problems of this on this mission from day one. So I'm not quite sure what this last chapter is going to be. We thought it was going to be something like, the journey home, but it's just and last. So be interesting to see if they actually do any kind of detail on the boat ride home, or if it's just we arrive back in London in depends on what the author, I suppose, would be the most interesting part.
Yeah, I suppose it was set up as something that he's like writing a recount of in his adult years.
Yeah.
So I suppose there's scope for him to come back to the adult self that he introduced at the start. I don't know.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, no, you're right there. It could jump in time. It could jump way forward. Who knows?
Yeah.
Well, let's jump in and have a little look. Last chapter, here we go.
Find out.
Alrighty. Good morning, floating heads.
Morning.
Hola.
Hola.
We're particularly embodying the angel and devil thing with a little red and white.
Oh, yeah.
As well.
That's true.
Yeah, very good. Anywho, chapter 34 and last. The next morning, we fell early to work for the transportation of this great mass of gold near a mile by land to the beach, and thence 3 miles by boat to the Hispaniola. It was a considerable task for so small a number of workmen. The 3 fellows still abroad upon the island did not greatly trouble us. A single sentry on the shoulder of the hill was sufficient to ensure us against any sudden onslaught, and we thought, besides, that they had had more than enough of fighting.
So this is what we did say, didn't we? That like £700,000 of gold is going to take a long time to move.
Yeah.
That's a lot. Like gold weighs so much. It's so heavy.
Yeah.
They're going to be sweating
Yeah. I also just love that, like, I almost want to hear from the three people stuck on the like the three Buccaneers, because they're literally watching.
Those left behind.
Then they're the new Ben Guns. They're literally watching this thing, and they've got they're malaria ridden. They've got no doctor, no supplies, and they're stuck on the island, and the ship's about to leave.
Woohoo!
Like, yeah.
Brilliant.
I almost want to hear from them and their despair about what they're thinking they're going to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe they're going to go find Ben and be like, "Can you teach us how to catch goats and make boats of them?"
Well, is Ben going with them, or is he going to stay behind?
Ben's going on the Hispaniola. Ben ain't staying behind.
La, la,
That's
la.
why he bought his way on the ship with the treasure.
Oh,
Remember
yeah,
when
of
he
course,
first
yeah.
met Jim? He was like, "I'll show you where the treasure is if you get me home because I miss cheese."
Yeah. Oh, because I missed cheese. Little does he know, Dr. Livesey's got a little cheeky parmesan.
Yeah, exactly. Probably sniff it out.
Therefore, the work was pushed on briskly. Gray and Ben Gunn came and went with the boat, whilst the rest, during their absences, piled treasure on the beach. 2 of the bars, slung in a rope's end, made a good load for a grown man, one that he was glad to walk slowly with.
2 bars is like one person's.
Just 2 bars is supposed to be a good load, and who knows how many bars there are.
Mm.
For by my part, as I was not much use at carrying, I was kept busy all day in the cave, packing the minted money into bread bags.
Oh,
here we
I forgot that
lovely
I didn't actually put the first one up. So we should probably look at the chapter one as well.
Oh yeah, that one.
I think that's the 3. Is that the 3 Buccaneers going?
That's
Don't
the
leave,
3 new
don't
Ben
leave."
Guns.
No,
Please
they're carrying on their Wuthering Heights dance.
Oh, okay. It kind of looks like the hear no evil, see no evil, like things. We've got one guy like clasping his head. Like, I think this is probably a spoiler now, actually, having looked at it, because I didn't look at it before, of what's going to happen. Like, are they going to come running to the beach and be like, "Please don't leave us behind.
Yeah.
We're sorry." Anyway, here's the next picture.
The next one.
Jim
Lovely illustration.
sitting in a cave. Can I just say, that looks like hell. You know how hard it is to pick a coin off of the pavement when you drop it?
Yeah.
Imagine that with like 700,000 coins.
It's like, okay, I've done 50 bags. Oh,
yeah.
so
Your nails are going to be bleeding by the end of this, trying to get them underneath each coin as you go.
I reckon that would make you, because it's all the coins are dirty as well, probably. You're probably going to get. Yeah.
Even if you spend an hour at the penny arcade, your fingers stink of 2p's.
It's like that metallic, horrible like smell. Yeah. Also, how many bread bags have they got? How much bread did they bring with them?
Yeah,
they're like, "Oh, you're putting it into bread bags." Like, okay, but like bread doesn't last very long, particularly in this time because it didn't have any preservatives in it. Like bread used to literally last a day or 2 days if you like rebaked it or turned it into bread pudding or turned it into bread and butter pudding. You have to do something with it because by the end of the day it was rock hard.
So the concept of a batch bake seems a little unnecessary.
Yeah.
Like the only reason why bread nowadays lasts a week is because we've got the preservatives to make it last that long.
Is it for journey cake?
Yeah.
Journey
that's actually
cake.
Journey
that's a Patreon little thing. If you want to know
throwback,
talk about journey cake, then you need to subscribe.
Yeah.
I'd forgotten about journey cake.
Yeah,
I miss it. I miss the concept already. Yeah. It was a strange collection, like Billy Bones' hoard for the diversity of coinage, but so much larger and so much more varied that I think I never had more pleasure than in sorting them. English, French, Spanish, Portuguese, Georges and Louis, doubloons and double guineas and I can't, there's too many. What is that?
Moidores?
Moidores. I don't know what. Moidores. I don't know what it is.
Oh, so it's a moidor. So it must be a moidors.
Moidors.
Yeah, and that's a Portuguese gold coin current in England in the early 18th century. I love it. It's a Portuguese coin current in England in the 18th century. So
why are we spending Portuguese money?
Well, I suppose if it's made of gold, it's made of gold.
Oh, fine.
It's not about where it was minted. It's about what it's minted of. Like our coins aren't made of precious metals anymore.
No, they're not worth.
Why they're only worth like within the country you spend them in. But obviously here, if it's made of gold or silver or bronze or whatever, it's worth what it's worth.
Doesn't matter, does it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Very clever. All right, I'll read that list of exciting places again. English, French, Spanish, Portuguese, Georges and Louises, doubloons and double guineas and moidors and sequins. The pictures of all sequins. It does say sequins. I didn't read that wrong.
Ben Gunn's like, how did they get in there?
It was a drag
What?
queen on the pirate ship who was just like, give me all the sequins.
Listen, it's a long crossing and you need entertainment.
Yeah. How do you get? See, did they steal a bucket of sequins, or did they just go up to somebody and cut them all off of their outfit, or like how did they get? Like, what are sequins originally? Because obviously sequins right now are just plastic discs. Oh yeah, they were made of precious metals. They were made of gold and silver. So yeah, why wouldn't you steal them? Fair enough.
Absolutely.
Oh, I take it back. They're basically just very, 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 very small coins. Essentially,
yeah, tiny ones. Yeah,
because they're like really tiny and thin because you nail them, sew them to an outfit.
So basically, 18th century sequins were even more fabulous than they are today.
I suppose it makes sense because you think about like belly dancers in like, you know, Middle East and Turkey, the tradition in Bible times of like wearing coins and stuff like that. Like it's a whole thing, isn't it? Like people used to wear their money as a status thing.
Beware of pickpockets.
Yeah. Maybe it might be safer. Who knows, wearing your purse rather than having it all in one place and dot it all around your person in your outfit. Why not?
The pictures of all the kings of Europe for the last 100 years. Strange oriental pieces stamped with what looked like wisps of string or bits of spider's web. Round pieces and square pieces and pieces bored through the middle, as if to wear them round your neck. Nearly every variety of money in the world must, I think, have found a place in that collection, and for number, I am sure they were like autumn leaves, so that my back ached with stooping and my fingers with sorting them out. Day after day this work went on. By every evening a fortune had been stowed aboard, but there was another fortune waiting for the morrow, and all this time we heard nothing of the 3 surviving mutineers. At last, I think it was on the 3rd night, the doctor and I were strolling on the shoulder of the hill where it overlooks the lowlands of the isle, when, from out the thick darkness below, the wind brought us a noise between shrieking and singing. It was only a snatch that reached our ears, followed by the former silence. "Heaven forgive them," said the doctor. "'Tis the mutineers. All drunk, sir," struck in the voice of Silver from behind us. Silver, I should say, was allowed his entire liberty, and in spite of daily rebuffs, seemed to regard himself once more as quite a privileged and friendly dependent.
Well, that kind of makes sense, because where's he going to go? If he runs away, like, you're his way home and off the island. So he's not going to make a run for it, because what's he making a run for it to?
Yeah.
So I mean, so it kind of makes sense giving him free reign, because it's like, well, you're going to come back because you want to leave the island as much as we do.
And we knowing how duplicitous he can be, I suppose it's better to just keep him on the side.
His chances getting back in England.
Well, he knows that he's not going to be hung because they said they weren't going to prosecute him.
Right, yeah.
So he's probably going, do you know what? At least I get off the island, I get back to my inn, I get back to my life.
Yeah.
Even if it means I don't get any of the treasure. I mean, who knows? Maybe he might be trying to put a few coins in his pocket as they're
you'd be like,
up.
I'm sure he's sliding.
There's so much there, though, that you go, well, who cares? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I took 50. All right.
Yeah, it's not like anyone's going to like notice if you just took a pocket full of coins.
I mean, a big gold bar perhaps might raise an eyebrow.
Yeah, but even then, it seems like they've
pocket.
got enough of them that, like...
Yeah, true. Well, literally, they've had to do 3 days of constant back and forth. That's insane. Indeed, it was remarkable how well he bore these slights, and with what unwearying politeness he kept on trying to ingratiate himself with all. Yet, I think, none treated him better than a dog, unless it was Ben Gunn, who was still terribly afraid of the old quartermaster, or myself, who had really something to thank him for, although, for that matter, I suppose, I had reason to think even worse of him than anybody else, for I had seen him meditating a fresh treachery upon the plateau. Accordingly, it was pretty gruffly that the doctor answered him. "Drunk or raving?" said he. Right you are, sir, replied Silver, and precious little odds which to you and me. I suppose you would hardly ask me to call you a humane man, returned the doctor with a sneer, and so my feelings may surprise you, Master Silver. But if I were sure they were raving, as I am morally certain one at least of them is down with fever, I should leave this camp, and at whatever risk to my own carcass, take them the assistance of my skill.
Oh, okay.
Ask your pardon, sir. You would be very wrong, quoth Silver. You would lose your precious life, and you may lay to that. I'm on your side now, hand and glove, and I shouldn't wish for to see the party weakened, let alone yourself, seeing as I know what I owes you. But these men down there, they couldn't keep their word, no, not supposing they wished to. And what's more, they couldn't believe as you could. No, said the doctor. You're the man to keep your word, we know that.
I'm hoping that was sarcasm.
Yeah.
Hopefully we kept the ambiguity alive there.
Yeah.
Just in case, yeah. Well, that was about the last news we had of the 3 pirates. Only once we heard a gunshot a great way off, and supposed them to be hunting. A council was held, and it was decided that we must desert them on the island, to the huge glee, I must say, of Ben Gunn, and with the strong approval of Grey. We left a good stock of powder and shot, the bulk of the salt goat, a few medicines, and some other necessaries, tools, clothing, a spare sail, a fathom or 2 of rope, and, by the particular desire of the doctor, a handsome present of tobacco.
Well, at
Well,
least
they've left
they're
them quite-
leaving them some stuff, yeah.
It's quite the booty, isn't it? Yeah.
He didn't leave the parmesan, though.
No, oh no,
No.
he's not going to find that for anybody.
And we all know what you miss when you're marooned on an island. It's the cheese. You only
It's
have to
the
ask Ben
cheese.
Gunn.
That's it.
Yeah. They've got. Oh no, the goats were from the ship. There wasn't goats on the.
No, the goats are from the island.
The island
Oh,
goats.
so you get goat's milk.
Yeah. They only brought pork.
Oh,
Ben made
yeah.
his coracle out of goat
So you could have
skins.
goat's cheese. I had some delicious goat's
Yeah,
cheese.
you
with my
could.
ratatouille today.
But that required. Didn't you have to have a cheesecloth to do that? Didn't you?
Who, me?
Well, if you, yes, you. You need a cheese. No, to make goat's cheese, you need a cheesecloth, don't you? Like you can't just.
You probably need a cloth of some sort. And then there's some kind of process to like make it harden and stuff, isn't it?
You have to boil the
it,
milk,
yeah.
and then you get your curds in your way, and then
Yeah.
you run it through a cheesecloth, and then basically your curds become.
And then
the
you pack
cheese.
it down, don't you?
Yeah, but yeah, they could. Were they?
I mean, they've got a cave to mature it in at least. So
It's true. Cave
Is that what Little Miss Muffet was basically eating? Like some congealed milk?
Yeah,
yeah, she was eating boiled milk.
which is
The
great.
spider was welcome relief then.
Yeah.
I think it was.
I
Oh my
mean,
God.
she must have been buff though. all that whey protein. I bet she's
Yeah.
probably a bodybuilder. That's why she's eating,
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
it.
getting her protein gains.
That was about our last doing on the island. Before that, we had got the treasure stowed and had shipped enough water and the remainder of the goat meat in case of any distress. And at last, one fine morning, we weighed anchor, which was about all we could manage, and stood out of North Inlet, the same colours flying that the captain had flown and fought under at the palisade. The 3 fellows must have been watching us closer than we thought, as we soon had proved. For coming through the Narrows, we had to lie very near the southern point, and there we saw all 3 of them kneeling together on a spit of sand, with their arms raised in supplication. It went to all our hearts, I think, to leave them in that wretched state, but we could not risk another mutiny, and to take them home for the gibbet would have been a cruel sort of kindness. The doctor hailed them and told them of the stores we had left, and where they were to find them. But they continued to call us by name, and appeal to us for God's sake to be merciful, and not to leave them to die in such a place.
It's true though, because if they take them with them, they're going to end up being hung. So it's like you take your chances on the island and forge out some kind
might
of
enjoy it.
hope that somebody else comes along and saves you,
Yeah,
or you go home to certain death. So
exactly. They just need their own little ecosystem. They'll be fine. At last, seeing the ship still bore on her course and was now swiftly drawing out of earshot, one of them, I know not which it was, leapt to his feet with a hoarse cry, whipped his musket to his shoulder, and sent a shot whistling over Silver's head and through the mainsail. After that, we kept under cover of the bullocks, and when next I looked out, they had disappeared from the spit, and the spit itself had almost melted out of sight in the growing distance. That was at least the end of that, and before noon, to my inexpressible joy, the highest rock of Treasure Island had sunk into the blue round of sea. We were so short of men that everyone on board had to bear a hand, only the captain lying on a mattress in the stern and giving orders. But though
Princess over there.
Yeah.
For though greatly recovered, he was still in want of quiet. We laid her head for the nearest port in Spanish America, for we could not risk the voyage home without fresh hands.
It's the Caribbean.
So it must be Caribbean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
After all of our geographical terrain chat, it probably was the Caribbean after all. We laid her head for the nearest port of Spanish America, for we could not risk the voyage home without fresh hands, and as it was, what with baffling winds and a couple of fresh gales, we were all worn out before we reached it. It was just at sundown when we cast anchor in a most beautiful landlocked gulf, and were immediately surrounded by shore boats full of Negroes and Mexican Indians, and half-bloods selling fruits and vegetables and offering to dive for bits of money. Oh,
We've done
dear.
really well, haven't we?
We've done
We've done
great,
really well
yeah.
up to this point. It's
I
been
know. It's an unfortunate thing of reading books that are stuck in a certain time period where these unfortunate
We've bumped against it with pretty much every
something that's
novel.
literally an insult in Harry Potter.
Yeah.
Half-blood,
yeah. Oh,
Gosh.
dear. I know.
The sight of so many good-humoured faces, especially the black.
This is another.
Oh, wow.
Everyone's just like really grinny and happy.
The problem is that wouldn't look out of place if it was said by Boris Johnson
Yeah.
next week.
How about
Just shows you how far we've come, and I'm doing air quotes right now because we haven't come very far at all. Because he would totally say something like that.
Of course it would. The taste of tropical fruits, and above all the lights that began to shine in the town, made a most charming contrast to our dark and bloody sojourn on the island. And the doctor and the squire, taking me along with them, went ashore to pass the early part of the night. Here they met the captain of an English man-of-war, fell in talk with him, went on board his ship, and in short, had so agreeable a time that day was breaking when we came alongside the Hispaniola.
Now, how much do we want to bet? I really want this to happen. I don't think it's going to happen. But do we think the squire has blabbed? To everybody in the bar going, drinks are on me. We've got £700,000 in our ship.
All right.
And I've lost the keys.
Yeah.
I'm sure he has.
Pat in his pocket.
I'm imagining like that what we're about to get to is someone else is going to steal the ship off of them now, and I really hope it happens. I don't think it will happen, but I hope it happens because I think it'd be funny. After all of this, like they lose out because on a drunken night in Tijuana, the squire couldn't keep his mouth shut.
Which kind of led to the whole first issue in the first place.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah.
I know, that's what I mean. We would have come full circle. It would be hilarious.
Yeah.
Great setup for a sequel, definitely. Ben Gunn was on deck alone, and as soon as we came on board, he began with wonderful contortions to make us the confession. Silver was gone.
Ooh!
What? Oh, as in he's made a run at the port.
They've gone off to get drunk on the Man of War, and then
Yeah.
Ben Gunn's like, I'm so sorry.
He's got every right to do that.
I wonder if he nicked a couple of coins as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The Maroon had connived at his escape in a shoreboat some hours ago, and he now assured us that he had only done so to preserve our lives, which would certainly have been forfeit if that man with the one leg had stayed aboard. But this was not all. the sea cook had not gone empty-handed.
Mm-hmm.
He had cut through the bulkhead unobserved and had removed one of the stacks of coin, worth perhaps 300 or 400 guineas, to help him on his further wanderings. I think we were all pleased to be so cheaply quit of him.
That says a lot about your personality, isn't it? The people are like, do you know what? I'm glad he's gone.
Yeah, that's it. Well, to make a long story short, we got a few hands aboard, made a good cruise home, and the Hispaniola reached Bristol just as Mr. Blandly was beginning to think of fitting out her consort. 5 men only of those who had sailed returned with her. Drink and the devil had done for the rest, with a vengeance, although, to be sure, we were not quite in so bad a case as that other ship they sang about, with 1 man of her crew alive, what put to sea with 75. All of us had an ample share of the treasure, and used it wisely or foolishly according to our natures. Captain Smollett is now retired from the sea. Gray not only saved his money, but being suddenly smit with the desire to rise, also studied his profession, and he is now a mate and part owner of a fine full-rigged ship, married besides, and the father of a family. As for Ben Gunn, he got £1,000, which he spent or lost in 3 weeks, or
How? We've already did our little conversion thing.
I
We've
know,
established
that's
that
so
it's
much money.
yeah.
Like in those days, there isn't the stuff to spend it on, is there?
I don't even know how you managed
Yeah,
to
but
spend
you've got to
£1,000.
remember, this is a guy that was stuck on a desert island without cheese
True.
for how many
Yeah.
years? He probably spent it all on cheese.
It's all
Yeah.
brie, isn't it?
Cheese
Yeah.
and
He
hookers.
turned-
I bet you that's what he spent it on. Cheese and hookers.
Yeah, that's
Cheese and
my new
hookers.
bar.
He's bought a cheese bath and filled it with ladies, and he's sitting there eating it.
It's like a prostitution fondue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm. Let's just let that image sink in for a second.
I think that's our new poster.
I imagine like a diving board.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh yeah, straight in.
cheese.
Bloop. Yeah. As for Ben Gunn, he got £1,000, which he spent or lost in 3 weeks, or to be more exact, in 19 days, for he was back begging on the 20th. Then he was given a lodge to keep, exactly as he had feared upon the island, and he still lives, a great favourite, though something of a butt, with the country boys, and a notable singer in church on Sundays and Saints' days.
Yeah, great.
Now that he got his cheesy debauchery behind him.
Yeah, exactly.
That's it.
It's like the end of a movie when they do the sort of like.
Yeah, it's
Rounds
quite
up.
nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
They show the shot and then they do a little blurb as to where they are now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Of Silver, we have heard no more. That formidable seafaring man with 1 leg has at last gone clean out of my life. But I dare say he met his old negress.
Negress. It's a black
Oh,
woman.
Black woman, of course, because he
Yeah,
had a black
it's
wife.
a very bad way of writing it. Yeah.
Okay, good.
Although it's weird, they say that word a lot in Archer. Have you ever seen Archer?
No, but
No.
I've heard you talk about it before.
Yeah. So there's a lady called Lana in it, and the amount of times they say it in it, and I'm like, I'm pretty sure this isn't PC. I don't think you're allowed to say that word.
So it's just a female form of that word, is it?
Yeah. But obviously, as we know, it's not a very...
Sound okay.
No.
But I dare say he met his old negress, and perhaps still lives in comfort with her and Captain Flint. It is to be hoped so, I suppose, for his chances of comfort in another world are very small. The bar silver and the arms still lie, for all that I know, where Flint buried them, and certainly they shall lie there for me. Oxen and wain ropes would not bring me back again to that accursed island, and the worst dreams that I ever have are when I hear the surf booming about its coasts, or start upright in bed with the sharp voice of Captain Flint still ringing in my ears. "Pieces of 8! Pieces of 8! End of book.
I love that they end with Captain
Pieces of
Flint
eight.
saying "Pieces of 8."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go, boys.
It's
Treasure Island,
done.
another book down.
That.
How's everyone feeling?
Yeah. It resolves in a nice way. Yeah.
It was a good achievement. I think if you were to say we're going to do a slightly longer book, you go, that's a lot to. But actually, it wasn't like, I know we were going like it's a slog, but it wasn't. It was mostly entertaining, not remotely what I remember or expected it to be, which shows what it could be when you've listened to an audio tape on a journey down to Spain as a child. I just remember them using the word "toss" gratuitously. And finding that funny. That was my resounding memory.
Yeah. I think because obviously we all knew the storyline before because there's been so many adaptations of it. But I think the one thing I was just expecting was for it to just move a bit quicker. It's almost like when you watch a series and there's lots of side adventures, and you're like, "This isn't what I'm here for. I'm here for this main thread. Can we just stick to the main story, please?"
We may have talked about this before, but
it was episodal.
Yeah, but also that nowadays, like film screenplay writing is so formulaic.
Yeah,
in a way that it wouldn't have been back then. That literally now we are conditioned to be like, okay, well, I meet my principal character by this page number in the script, and then the exciting incident happens in this page number, and then this is where the twist happens
here, and then
you know what I mean. And so it's so formulaic now that whenever we deviate from that and we do get a more meandering story, it feels like it's wrong, but actually it's just the way that things were back then.
Yeah.
He definitely lends into like the human drama and the sort of interpolitical aspect of being on the island and negotiating and outwitting the opposition rather than because a lot of the actual like maiming and killing was like, oh, and Ben Gunn in the night killed 3 blokes.
Yeah. No, it's true. There wasn't a detailed description of it. Yeah.
But I enjoyed. I do actually think it was really realistic. I was saying this last week. Like, it is what would happen. Well, I'm guessing there were instances where with buried treasure and people finding it and stuff. I don't know if a random hit team from the West Country went to go and find it on an island or anything, if that ever happened. But it is the sort of thing that would happen. Oh, we've run out of supplies. Oh, we're having to just like camp at this place in the island and we can't go anywhere because they're there. And then we're not just going to go all guns blazing because we're just going to get killed.
Yeah. I mean, even them stopping on the way home to pick up more hands to help them with the crossing. Like, it's realistic. That's what they would do.
Yeah.
They'd go to another port to find more sailors. Like, that makes sense. So, yeah, he definitely knew what he was talking about in terms of how ships were run and how these things would have gone down. And as you say, the main thing that causes death almost isn't even so much the mutiny or the fighting. It's the lack of clean water and the starving to death and the scurvy and malaria and all these actual other things that kind of we don't think about because they're not as exciting to think about as like all the knives in the dark. I enjoyed it. I thought it was quite a solid story. I think I would have liked to have maybe seen John get a bit more of a comeuppance at the end. Do you know what I mean?
It comes out smelling of roses, but is that the idea?
Yeah, but just the fact he just disappears is kind of a bit like, oh, I've liked like his greed to have caused a bad situation for him. And I don't want to spoil,
remember, this is the day that you almost caught.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, and I think that was one of the things. Well, when you see it, Josh, that they did change for the Muppets one, just in his ending,
a little bit of
and I do prefer the way it ends with him because I think it kind of has more of a serves you right kind of thing at the end.
There's something about an end to suit the character as they've been shaped, and in some ways you're like, well, you know,
him getting better
way for him to get, because he's been one step ahead the whole time. But it's like he managed to get away with it and whatever, but somehow it still seems a bit pathetic that he just kind of like nicked a bag of money and ran away. So you're kind of like, you know, you don't look at him and go, oh, what a great man. You look at him and go, you know, he's a bit lame. What a loser.
Small fry. He's small fry.
So he managed to get away with it, sure, but ultimately he's not, you know, he's not anyone to be.
He's a fugitive. He can't go home.
And
he is cast as this legendary figure at the start below and he's like looking out to sea, and he's imagining that he's seeing this like monster coming out of the sea, and he's just a bloke. that's quite
bloke.
conniving.
Yeah. I noticed that Jim didn't really say what he did with his portion of the money. Or, did he go back to the Admiral Benbow? Did he go back with his money and be like, oh, Mum, we don't have to worry about,
just use it as float
anymore?
Yeah, what about Mum?
I know, she just disappeared.
Well, they didn't wrap up the
she's
Doctor and the Squire
anyway, so
yeah, sure.
I'm sure she'll be fine.
Yeah.
But she's probably still working in the Admiral Benbow with the new boy that she's hired.
Oh, yeah.
And he's probably like, I won't bother going home. I'll just go.
Yeah, she's
living large.
replaced me,
Yeah. Where's the boy gone? Oh, he's gone on a mission to some island. Oh.
Yeah, he's in prostitute cheese fondue somewhere.
Yeah. It's about 50 miles south of Spain, I think.
Yeah. I do love it. He said, didn't he say Ben spent or lost it? So we didn't actually consider the possibility that someone just robbed him.
Oh yes, that could have happened.
That's also
probably forgotten how to be civilized.
He's probably forgotten how money works. Someone's probably just like, "Can I have this loaf of bread? How much is that? How much you got? £1,000. It's £1,000.
Gold bar. Oh, inflation.
Oh, great! What a bargain.
Well, you can't really have inflation if you're using actual gold because it's like
true. So
bullion.
Funny. Right, well, that is it for Treasure Island. And it's also actually for our regular podcasts going to be it for the rest of 2022. I start a new job in November and won't be around. And obviously with Christmas and everything that always happens over that. And also I've got a wedding, sister-in-law's wedding in January as well. It's all kicking off. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to take a little break over the next couple of months till the end of the year. And then we will come back next year with a new book in the new year. But we will continue to do the Patreon episodes. So if you are wanting to scratch the itch and are missing us, you can sign up for the Patreon and get a little
forcing you to pay now.
Yes. Just for a couple of months. But you buy the Patreon for 1 month, you can access all the past episodes. So you can get your feel of all of the episodes we've got up there to keep you ticking over. If you have any thoughts or opinions on this book, you can message us on thelazybookclub@gmail.com.
Or perhaps you might have some suggestions for another book we might like to read, because we're
going to be trying to find
our next one. We don't know yet. Just so you're aware, for us to be able to do it, the author has to have been dead
for 70 years.
70 years. But we use a website called Project Gutenberg, and you can look through, there's thousands of volumes. Also, it's worth a plug if you want to read some old books and download them for free onto your little Kindle. Project Gutenberg, you can do it. So you look through the index and you might go, oh, it's that one. And then, so suggest to us, because we don't want to have to find out ourselves. Do so on Twitter @LazyBookClub.
Woo! He got there in the end.
Unprompted. And for those of you who are a dab hand on Photoshop, please send us a picture of maybe our own faces in a bath full of cheese. Post it on Instagram @LazyBookClubPod.
Yeah, I would really appreciate a picture of their debaucherous night in Tijuana. You got the Squire and Dr. Livesey in the bar.
Yeah. And then Dr. Silver sneaking off.
Yes, exactly, with a little thing, and Ben Gunn eating cheese off a woman's belly or something, I don't know.
Fantastic.
And Jim's on the boat because he's like, you're not old enough.
It's great.
That's the first thing he bought was a block of Parmesan the size of a barn.
Yeah.
Oh dear, so many weird things, but absolutely great. Well, from all of us here at Lazy Book Club Podcast, have a very good Christmas, have a wonderful new year, and we will be back very shortly with an announcement of what our new book will be, and we'll see you in January. Bye.
Au revoir.